Hello there, and I'm back, but this time with an Infinity video. Now, this is the first part of a three-parter series of me going to my first Infinity tournament. This tournament is going to be held in Helsinki and called the Helsingforce Protocol. It's part of the Infinity Global Week event. I'm very excited for it, and here in front of you you have you see my first ever painted Infinity Army. It's 300 points of Svalarheima. I'm really excited, and what I'm going to do is, as I already mentioned, there's going to be three videos of this series. The first one, this one, I'm going to be talking about my army, the list I'm taking, the models that I painted, and why I picked this army. The second video is going to be me recording the entire trip to the tournament event. I'm going to try and record some clips from the games I'm going to be having, and then the final video is going to be my overall experience and just me talking how much I enjoyed the event. Let me go over the models that I have in this list, but before that I wanted to tell you the story why I picked Svalarheima over all the other armies available for this amazing game. I started collecting Infinity back when N3 just aired, and I had this starter set called Operation Ice Storm, which was Panoceania versus Nomads. I picked Panoceania because of the Father Knight model, now known as Knight of Justice, and Nisse Sniper. I fell in love with the designs of those models, and when I came back to Infinity December last year, I looked at Svalarheima and I found that they have new models called Karhu, which also piqued my interest. Now, the Karhu Nisse piqued my interest because they remind me of Metal Gear Solid back all the way back from PlayStation 1 era. I love the game, I love that universe of Metal Gear, and that's what ultimately helped me decide to pick this army. And plus I had models from Operation Ice Storm already, so I just had to buy a couple extra models to finish off the list. Now, as making the list for the tournament, when I started painting the army, I was just painting whatever I wanted to paint, the models that piqued my interest and that I wanted to paint at that moment. And I was holding off of taking part in any tournament. Our local community is very competitive, so they were traveling to France, to Latvia, Riga, while I was taking the back seat because I don't want to take part in a tournament without a fully painted army. And when I got news that one of my favorite cities to visit, Helsinki, is holding their own tournament in August, I decided immediately that I want to take part, and I started making a list consisting of the models that I already had painted and the models that I can paint in time for the tournament. And with that, I made my list. Now let's me talk over the list and why do I have these particular units over the others, even though I had other options to paint. I think let's start with the core. I have a 5-man core Fusilier squad consisting of 2 regular Fusiliers, a paramedic, a Fusilier hacker, and a missile launcher. Now this is a very common core. It's a very cheap one. The missile launcher is a ARO piece, and the hacker is very good for taking missions and using Fugazi drone bots as repeaters. I always run a paramedic in this core because she's cheap. She's also a specialist, and she even knocked off a wound from a bear unit in close combat. So I love her. Now, I mentioned repeaters going brilliantly well with the Fusilier Hacker, and for that I have two Fugazi drone bots with marker lights. Very cheap unit, generate a lot of orders, as you all guys know, and I really enjoyed painting them. I think from all the models that I have currently painted, I enjoyed painting them the least, but I enjoyed the end result the most. They came out very nicely, and I really like how the blue looks. And again, they're very good for some missions where you have to run forward and grab the middle board because of their move of 6-6. Now, those two, let's say, squads are very cheap order generators. I'm having also a duo of a Knight of Justice hacker and a blade mechanic. The blade mechanic is going to be proxied by a Nice hacker because I have him painted and I didn't get the blade, the reinforcement box yet, so I have to substitute him. I was contemplating of using the Nice hacker as a knock-in, but after playtesting I kinda decided against that for another unit. But going back to this duo, there's two lists actually for this tournament that I have, but they all consist of the same models. The primary list is the Knight of Justice hacker with the mechanics. The Knight of Justice is a very scary piece. It has stealth, martial arts level 4 if I'm not mistaken, but primarily why I picked him is again the model. I really loved it. It's an old school Father Knight of Justice, and because it has stealth, you rarely hear him and rarely can react to him. And his move is 6-2, which is very nice for running forward and pushing the buttons. He has 2 wounds, and if it's need be, he can be a good mid laner. That's the case. As for the blade mechanic, it's there as acting as a paramedic for the Knight of Justice, and also as a secondary specialist in this duo. The second list is going to be having the same mechanic, but the Knight of Justice is going to be having a Spitfire instead of being a hacker. One thing about this list, the main list, is that it's a glass cannon. If my main shooters die, then the entire list crumbles. So having that Spitfire for some particular matchups is a very good addition as a mid laner running up 2 wounds and shooting with Spitfire. Now, I mentioned that I was considering using the Nice hacker as a knock-in, but decided to not use the knock-in but to use another piece, and that piece is Uma Sorensen. She's a specialist. She has camo marker. She has a machine gun, and she has climbing plus. I never used her for anything apart being a button pusher. I was told by the local Discord panoceania players that she's a good flanker that can flank your opponent's back line and kill a lot of chaff. But I have another unit for doing just that. So she's kind of a button pusher, but in my game she didn't amount to much. But that's comes from my lack of experience, and yeah, I ultimately chose her for the camel state and super climb, which the Nokken doesn't have, even though I preferred the model of the Nokken, and I really want to experiment with him more when I get the proper model. But that's Uma Sorensen. Now the second camo marker uh, you might or might not recognize in this list is going to be my Beast Hunter, which is going to be proxied by this Bounty Hunter. I specifically purchased this model to act as my Beast Hunter. When I saw the model, I knew that I wanted. So the list is going to be having two camo markers starting on the table, which I hope, maybe that's my naivety in this game, that is going to startle my opponent a bit. Because we're talking about svalarheima and how many camo markers does it have. They have Uma Sorensen, Beast Hunter, and the Ninja. No one expects the Ninja. I really wanted to paint him and use in this list, but it's just not worth it. And I might do that in the future because I like the model, but I regress. Beast Hunter. For deployment, I think it costs 70 points. I need to check the list, but from the top of my head. He did so much damage in my practice games. Just run forward, put the template on any kind of chaff units of my opponent, and just clear off the order pool. He's also a nuisance if he does that and stays in the game in my opponent's side of the table. He's a nuisance. You have to deal with him. If you don't deal with him, then he is going to repeat the same thing. If I would have the last order available after he killed a lot of stuff, I would put him back in the camo state, so my opponent has to spend more orders discovering him or coming closer into close combat. Now talking about the mid laner, my primary mid laner is going to be the Linkai. That's another model. That's another model that made me pick Svalarheima, because they have the best aspects of Infinity for me. They have the Knights, they have a Shaolin Monk, even though it's one, but they have it, and they have ninjas. I had success with Linkai. Sometimes he dies immediately, but that's my playstyle. My playstyle is very aggressive. I have to be a little bit more careful with him. But he's a great mid laner, you all know that. He has forward deployment. Sometimes he just can stay in the mid lane and be an obstacle for my opponent to overcome. Sometimes I just rush him straight on and try to get something killed, even though it's not always worth it. He's just a good strong unit. And now the last part of this army is my aggressive link. It's a pure link made out of Nisse HMG, Nisse Sniper, and a winterfor mechanic. The HMG is the model that does a lot of damage. 5 shots on the active turn, basically kills everything it sees. He has Mimetism -3, Multi-Spectre Visor level 2, movement is 4/4, and due to that, him being in a pure link, he has +3 to discover. Again, as I mentioned, this list is a glass cannon. If he dies, then I have no good shooters in an active turn. That's why in my second list I had the Knight of Justice armed with a Spitfire instead of the hacking device. Machinist, winterfor, again he counts as a Nisse, that makes this link pure. Specialist in a link that moves forward. Nisse Sniper, that one is debatable. Again, he was one of the reasons why I picked panoceania back all the way back in Ice Storm. Fantastic model, and I rarely like to proxy, so I had to use him as a WYSIWYG, being a sniper rifle. One thing though, I don't use him for arrows. On my first turn I try to hide him, and only use him as an arrow piece on turn 2. Or when the HMG dies, he's the second shooter. Not the best shooter in the after turn, I have to give him that, but still, nonetheless, he's an active shooter. In the second list, he's going to be a paramedic. He's a paramedic. And maybe that's even for the better to heal the Nice HMG. If he's unconscious, not dead, obviously. So that concludes the first video. As I said, I'm just going to talk about the army, show you the painted models. I really hope to win some painting competitions with these models. I have no illusions of thinking that they're painted to an amazing standard. There's some actual freaks out there that I have no idea how they paint their tiny infinity models the way they do, but it's just art. That's why I call them freaks. They're actually freaky talented. But this is the army. I'm really excited to take part in the first tournament we did. I just painted the last model, which was the Fusilier Hacker last week. And they're going to be custom 2 3D printed camo markers arriving soon. I hope that I'm going to be able to paint them in time. And basically that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the painted model showcase. And I catch you in the next one, which is going to be more of a block style video. So thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for more, and definitely more Infinity content coming.